Well, why don't we get to a show that you probably would have had to have duct taped me to a chair to get me to sit through all the way. I don't even remember how much of it I saw, but it's certainly not as enjoyable as SmackDown. Let's talk about WWE Raw this past week.
Oh boy, 'cause I have to do my duty, my due diligence. I'm going to because so many people have just been blistering me about, oh, you don't like the Wyatt deal, you don't like the Wyatt deal. That's the way they say it too. That I'm gonna watch this thing and try to figure out what's going on and some reason to like it on a program that is nominally supposed to be professional wrestling oriented. I know most of the good parts of the wrestling program are the promos, but nevertheless, the world of wrestling. If we're not watching the cars race, we're having race car drivers talking about racing cars. That type of flavor of thing. Is that clear, Brian? To the people, you think?
I think so, Jim.
Well, I'm not yelling at you. Don't get hot at me.
I'm just yelling in general. I didn't say I was yelling at you.
Well, I'm screaming and I don't know why.
It's hot and sticky.
The people, this thing is fucking hot and stinky. But anyway, we got to get there. Raw on July the 1st, they had a red herring here in that they start out the program again with two of the regular human performers on the telecast, and then they segue into Svengoolie. So they're in Boston, Massachusetts, Beantown, and they open up with Jey Uso, who is the man of the people, entering from the breezeway into the arena where they got the lights on the phones and the waving arms. I'm thinking they're missing a merchandise opportunity, Brian. A Jey Uso wacky waving arm inflatable tube man.
I think they could sell. The question is what the price point would be, and also I guess that would have to be an online thing. You can't exactly sell them at the building. And
no, that's the thing. They don't have to be inflated at the building. You can take the air out of them. You can deflate them and put them in a package and sell them at the building. They take them home, put them out in the driveway. It blows up 8 feet in there, and you can see the commercial. The Jey Uso wavy wacky yeah. I'll try it again.
I can see that commercial.
You can see it. The Jey Uso wavy wacky arm inflatable tube. I fucked it up again. I said it a minute ago. Wacky waving arm inflatable tube man. Wacky waving arm inflatable tube man. See? But you could have one of them. They're 10 feet tall. They're in everybody's driveway all over the neighborhood, scaring the shit out of everybody, causing accidents. All the people running stop signs. It's Jey Uso and he's 8 feet tall and he's waving his arms at me. I got to hit my brakes and swerve. It could be fucking fun.
All right. Well, hopefully you don't swerve to the right. But back to
anyway. All right.
Jey Uso's entrance.
Swerving back to this. At least it's a lot more excitement than the plumber going through the crowd. If they replaced Wild Thing with some fucking random generic elevator music, they'd just be staring at that bald-headed goof, right? And I don't know with Jey Uso's work why he is getting this response, and he'd better take care of it. As we'll talk about in a second. But
he feeds off that energy, and then they feed off him. It kind of works amazingly.
Yeah, right, but if they're feeding off of him, the food at some point needs to be good.
I mean, there have been some bad workers that get over big time with the fans.
I know, but God damn it, it's self-inflicted wounds. He can do better. He's hot dogging so much with the fake. I'll get there in a minute. We're not having a fight yet. Because first he does the yeet, and they do the yeet, and they kept it short, and he's got it working instead of whatting him, they're yeeting him whenever he wants them to, and he's building his promo around it. And if you notice, because he's not good at long-winded soliloquies, so this works to his strengths also. When he just has to say 3 or 4 words and yeet, and 3 or 4 words and yeet, he gets the point across. Boom. But then here comes Gable. And he's like, yeet isn't even a word. And he's going to get the money in the bank. And he's telling Jey that he's not scared of the monsters. They should be after you, the man you left your family. And I'm thinking now, oh my God, now these two are going to be involved in this hoo-ha. And that's what happened. As soon as they get in a little scuffle, Gable and Uso, and that's where Uso came back with the 4 fakest looking punches I've ever. It's not even slapping, obviously when you hit the guy, it's not even slapping, obviously, when you hit the guy with an open hand. He's not even bothering to hit the fucking guy. He's just waving his hand in front of his fucking face. And I would fine a guy for doing something like that on television. And then the lights went out, and here came the spooky piano music. And Brian Otto, did you pay? Is this a part of the program you paid any attention to, or did you just leave this misery to me?
I saw the Jey Uso entrance. I saw Gable come out, and then once the spooky shit started, I was out. So I checked back in from time to time, but I don't have any time or patience for this nonsense. So for anyone saying, oh, but you didn't say anything about The Undertaker all those years. Hey, Undertaker had some good matches, and in the early days of the gimmick, I really dug it. It went too far. I thought it was silly. And the only thing sillier than all the lightning and everything was the American Badass.
Yes. And I've said that before, that I didn't endorse the lightning or, being ascending to heaven or on the big screen or...
You didn't say anything when Kane was shooting lightning. Yeah, I didn't have a podcast. If I had a podcast, I would have said, I don't like it. It sucks. It's not what I like on my wrestling. And I feel the same thing about Uncle Howdy, and I don't like it.
I just had to deliver it privately to the motherfucker that was writing it down. I wasn't broadcasting at the time either. But nevertheless, I'm going to tell you another reason why I don't like this on the wrestling program, because of what happened next. The smoke is filling up in the ring, and the crowd is chanting, holy shit, but they're bleeping shit, so it's holy, and it's distracting as fuck. I don't know why the people have to ruin the viewing experience for those of us at home to say a naughty word in the arena, but Gable goes over the rail and out into the arena, backing up, backing away, a terrified look on his face, looking left, looking right, his arms akimbo, fearfully, as he's feeling his way through the goddamn arena filled with people. There are literally thousands of human beings all around him.
Having a great time. No one's scared.
Nobody's scared. He's not in a cemetery at midnight all alone. And the spotlight is following him. There's a spotlight following him the whole way while the spooky piano. Do you have a piano that can go ding, 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 ding?
Yeah, I gotta get one tuned on. Hold on.
Because we need the ding, ding. And while Brian is attempting to set up a ding, ding, I will say that as Gable is backing, he's going past a bunch of ladders set up, and he sees a silhouette in the light. Are you dinging yet, Brian?
Still looking.
Still looking for the ding. And he sees a silhouette in a light, and then he just keeps backing slowly, cautiously through the hallways of the arena that is obviously an arena filled with smoke from a smoke machine, with a spotlight on him and ominous music playing while thousands of people are sitting there doing goddamn nothing. Brian, do we have a ding yet?
I'm still looking.
That's not really what it's ding, 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 ding. Nah.
I'm still looking. The other thing on the other side of the room has a piano. This is actually...
No, that's okay. Just stay there. I'll call you here in a second.
All right.
So he's acting like he's lost in the woods when he's back in the breezeway area, or not even the just the backstage area, that he sees another silhouette. and then another one, and then he turns around and runs up the stairs of the arena through the people to the cheap seats, and he's gone out the fucking exit somewhere. And I've seen Barney Fife exercise more courage going through a fucking graveyard than this guy, just because the arena lights went off. There you go. No, just the tone. That's all it is.
Oh, come on.
No, I'm telling the people factually on this program, that's all it is. Dun, dun. And then, while that's going on, the girl gives Michael Cole another box. And again, there's Michael Cole and what's his broadcast partner's name?
Corey Graves.
Corey Graves. And they're sitting there at the table, but the security guys, the polo-shirted security guys that they have with them, again, are just laid over. They're still on their feet, but they've bent over the side of the desk, and they're laying face down on just their upper bodies on each side of the desk. And we've never heard any kind of a scuffle or any kind of, goddamn, how do they just fall over? How do they do that in front of all the fans? People are sitting there, and all of a sudden, these guys just face plant like two drunks at goddamn 2:00 in the morning on each end of the bar. How the fuck does that work in front of people?
See, the smart thing is you've trained people now to turn their phones around and put on the flashlight so they're not actually using the phone to take a picture of the nonsense happening with the lights out.
Somebody go to one of these programs in the arena and tell us how the security guys do they just fall over like it's Agent Orange or something? Or do they bend over like they're looking for something and just kind of go to sleep with nobody noticing?
You know what I'd love to see in the middle of all this while the Howdy people are in the smoke and crawling around or walking slowly? Some process server just comes and hands him papers. Kill the gimmick dead right there on the spot.
Hey, remember Billy Travis got arrested on Memphis TV Live that time?
Live on TV, and then they filmed it. They showed it on the show in the back. And well, Billy Joe Travis is being taken away now, folks.
Well, and actually, Lawler made a deal with him because they came to get him, and he said, please just let him do something on the show. And then, you can take him right then. So they let him appear somehow at the top of the program, and then they came and got him and took him away on television. Anyway, so it's another VHS tape that they're going to play later on. And this was 12 minutes in, and I wrote, I don't want to watch the rest. Because that's why. This is stupid. It doesn't belong in this world. So, and people are saying, well, they're just really demented in their minds. I forget how they're phrasing it. They're whatever. Then how are they poisoning the security? And why is anybody else taking that job after they've done it twice or three times now? Or do they wake up feeling refreshed? They're hypnotized. And you'll wake up feeling more refreshed than you ever have.
It's the worst job in wrestling, security guard at a WWE show. Either that or you're getting a crossroads or you're getting beat up or thrown to the floor.
So anyway, and Karrion Kross then wrestled Xavier Woods. I'll save you the description of it.
I miss the good old days when Karrion Kross was the spooky guy on the show.
Remember that?
Now they gave that to everyone else. Now he's just a guy with long hair.
Yeah, and he's a guy with long hair and that had tremendous potential until for some reason or another he became the most boring motherfucker in the world.
I did see some of that. I did come back because it was on mute. Because I remember Paul Ellering being like on the apron saying something. Oh my God, he's actually talking. Let me hear what he said. And then he didn't say anything. So I went back to mute.
No, he was up on the apron yelling, but there was no microphone to... He may have just been mouthing the words. I don't know. Well, save your voice, Paul. As we get older, fuck, you and I both, we've yelled a lot. Save your voice. Damian Priest is mad because Liv is in the locker room or the clubhouse playing video games with the top heel group. I don't know why. God damn it. Does the audience have to be fucking 18-year-old people?
This is getting over, though. I mean, it's actually probably the best usage of Liv Morgan so far.
Well, I know that's the problem. Then we got to see more of her.
She's all right. She's been all right with this. I've actually thought she's done really well. We've seen plenty of women that you think, oh, anyone could do good in these roles, and they put them into something like this and they bomb. She's done well with this.
I hope she graduates to Hollywood quickly.
I can say that about a lot of people on this show.
And then she wrestled Zelina, speaking of Liv. And then they had a sit-down kind of package thing with Drew McIntyre. And I was thinking, well, and then I realized it was a big Modelo commercial. Did you see that?
I did not, no.
Yeah, because if you're zipping through the commercials, you would have kind of goddamn zipped through this, except it's a little longer than normal. But this Modelo thing was sponsored by Modelo, was at the top, and the Modelo logo bug was on the screen. But he's talking about tonight with the three-way with Sheamus and Ilya, and again, he's such a good heel promo now that he made a glorified beer commercial sound interesting. And then we gotta watch this. How long is this WrestleMania documentary? Is this some kind of goddamn mini series that we're gonna have to sit through, or is it just it's out there and it's of reasonable length?
It's out there. I don't think it's hold on, I'll tell you right now, because a ton of people have been sending it to me because they want us to review it. Well, I had it here.
It's a holiday weekend, folks. We're making these plans on the air. I'm making a note now. Watch. It's an hour?
It's an hour, and it only took them 4 months to put it together.
God damn it.
And from what I'm hearing, it's just The Rock being full of shit in a way that only The Rock could be full of shit. And he's the one who obviously made sure all of his stuff was in this documentary to make sure his bullshit narrative got out there. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this.
Well, I can tell you're on the fence about it.
Because we know what happened. We know it's just going to be him and his piss boy Gewurz trying to spin reality so that they look like they were ahead of the curve, that they were aware of what was going to happen, that they're with it for the fans because they really believe in the fans. All that shit. He's the fucking male J-Lo. That's what The Rock is. Completely full of shit to the core. And I can't wait to see how full of shit he is in this documentary.
Well,
we know what happened. I can't wait to see how full of shit he is in this documentary.
So you're going in with an open mind is what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, good, because we are journalists and it's an hour documentary and it's been said, let's see, April, May, June. Here we are. So that's 3 months. So one would think that most major Hollywood motion pictures might have made it through the editing process in that period of time, unless they had to potentially rewrite some of the history is all otherwise I'm going in with an open mind.
Unless you had to figure out a way to spin the narrative so that it actually could somehow make sense. As opposed to The Rock was going to completely fuck over all the booking that had been happening for the last year and a half with Cody Rhodes to be in the main event of Mania because he thought he should be, and the fans completely rejected that. And now he wants to try to make sure you see him as the good guy in this whole thing. It's everything with Dwayne Johnson.
Well, now, but
everyone's catching up. I say it, and if people complain, but every time I say it, more people see the light. I am the guiding light when it comes to Dwayne Johnson.
So what are you saying that we should potentially be watching out for any footage that might have been shot after the fact and manipulated or anything like that? Or are you just saying that it took them a while to think of the right way to put it together?
Let's put it this way. Are you going to see any footage of anyone going, where is this fucking guy? He's hours late. Where the fuck is he? I'm so sick of Dwayne, his stooges, and his shit. Are you going to see any of that in the documentary? I don't think so.
Well, that now, in all fairness to all parties, maybe they didn't shoot anything like that.
That's true.
Maybe they turned the camera off when things like that were going on.
I want to see they should show everything. I want to see exactly what kind of shit he's on. I think he owes it to the American people like Billy Gunn to say, look, I'm an older man. Look
what
at
did
me.
Billy do here? What are you on a rampage?
No, seriously, he's like in his mid-60s and he looks ridiculous, and I will never be on Rampage. Don't ever make that confusion.
Well,
again. I will never be on Rampage, ever.
Not just generic Rampage, a specific Rampage.
But The Rock is twice the size that he was at his athletic peak. And 3 times the size as he was when he first tried to make it in Hollywood. And he's in his 50s. And seemingly he doesn't have a care in the world in terms of his long-term health. He may be onto something. I want to know what he's on so I can do it. I want to get big and pumped up like that. I have the right.
As they get older, a lot of people gain weight. Remember Blackjack Mulligan, got quite big there.
That famous shredded period of Blackjack Mulligan in the WWF, that never happened.
Well, he gained weight. He just gained it, and he had muscles in different places.
The Rock's ex-wife, you see what she looks like now? Have you seen what she looks like now?
It's not my week to watch her either. What is the matter with her appearance?
She's on the same shit he's on. That's what's the matter with it. It looks completely freaky. Now. That's what's the matter with it.
You can't just come out here. I'm telling you what now. You can't just come out here and make these accusations.
I didn't make any accusation. I said she looks like she's on whatever he's on.
Well, you're casting aspersions.
And he looks like he's on everything.
What, if you look at it, she could be just, she could be doing a lot of push-ups.
Oh, yeah.
And chin-ups and throw-ups and things of that nature.
Well, I look forward to watching. It'll be a fun review.
No, she actually, it looks like you wouldn't need an X-ray to see the blood coursing through her veins. That's always disturbing to me on human beings when they're just...
There will be a book one day about $7 about this whole organization, about the movies, about the people, and I can't wait. I can't wait. That's all I'll say for now. But there'll be more in the future.
Sponsored by Modelo.
Well, no, Jim, but on that topic of Modelo, they're not involved in this in any way. But perhaps after watching something that more than likely going into it will be completely full of shit like this documentary about the WrestleMania main event, maybe if you care about honesty and integrity and history, that would stress you out. Maybe you need some help to deal with stress, daily stress, sleep, a good night's sleep, and we know exactly the place we could send everyone.
Well, that's exactly right, our friends at CBD Distillery, because I'll tell you, it doesn't have to be a good night's sleep. Now, see, that's where we discriminate against some people. Some people, they're working the night shift, right? They need a good day's sleep. It doesn't matter. Day or night, some of this CBD Distillery stuff will put you to sleep both day and night. For maybe several of each if you do it right.
No, that's not if you do it right. That's if you do it wrong. If you do it right, everything will be managed and a normal, regular amount of time, not days. Not days.
Well, but see, now it depends on, the days are different lengths on the different planets, Brian. Were you aware of this, or did I just blow your mind? A day on Mercury is much shorter than a day here, whereas a day on Neptune is much longer. So it just depends on...
That makes sense, yeah.
It depends on what planet you think you're on at the time as to how long the day is. But I'll tell you something else, folks.
I think it's what planet you actually are on, not what planet you wish you were on.
Well, it just depends on, again, if you go to CB Distillery, then these things can change. And we talked about people putting illicit substances and bad things in their body. There's none of that here. These are the highest quality, clean ingredients. Targeted formulations with no fluff and no fillers, just pure effective CBD solutions. This is stuff that they mine it out of the ground. You've seen, folks, these documentaries are popping up everywhere about the CBD mines and how these people, especially in the mountainous regions of the Rocky Mountains, are going deep underground to get the finest natural CBD that they could possibly pickaxe out of that hard granite underground fucking bedrock, and then they put it through the exclusive process they've got out there in the Invaders' old lair. That's who they sold it to, where they process this high quality compacted CBD, which comes, as we all know, from dinosaur excrement. And then they compound it into a formulation that comes straight out of the earth, right to you. Brian, are you still alive?
I wanted to see just how far you're going to go with this.
Okay, well, folks, if you struggle with a health concern and you haven't found relief, or if you just want to piss people off, make the change like we all have to CB Distillery, 2 million customers, a solid 100% money back guarantee. They're the source to trust. They've had 2 non-clinical surveys. Brian, I'll have you know. So right there, that proves my point. So right now, if you want to save 20% to get you started on your way to blissful slumber and less stress and less pain, less agony, less blues, less mud and the blood and the beer, all those old tropes that Bill Watts used to throw out in his promos, just go to cbdistillery.com and use the promo code JCE for 20% off. cbdistillery.com, promo code JCE for 20% off anything that you want to get from the aforementioned website, which again is cbdistillery.com.
That's right, cbdistillery.com, promo code JCE. Check that out today. Are we finished with Raw? Can we talk about something else?
No, we haven't even got halfway through this fucking thing, but we're gonna move quickly from here.
Yogi's Gang is on MeTV Tunes right now. We can talk about that.
Oh, well, don't make me jealous. Seth Franklin Rollins and Finn Balor were doing a promo about their various issue, and here came Damian Priest. And Damian is upset at Finn for getting in his business, but he tells Seth that he doesn't run Raw anymore, and Seth said, well, we can do it right now. And which, of course, we never hear. And then Finn jumps Seth from behind, but Damian isn't happy, so he pulls Finn off of Seth, and then Seth super kicks one of them, smack dab into the other one. And then he gives the curb stomp to Finn, but then Priest choke slams Seth and then helps Finn up. And then they walked off. So we're right back where we started from. And that was followed by a girls' triple threat match. See, are you regretful?
No,
you didn't
I'm not.
check back in quicker?
You know, with SmackDown, I always feel like I better check back in because there's going to be something that happens. And there's going to be filler matches that I don't care about. And lately, it seems like every filler match is a 3-way match. Women, men, tag teams, whatever. And I'm sick of them. And I think they've used the 3-way match to the point now where it means nothing. A singles match would do more good. But no, SmackDown's a fun show. SmackDown's a wrestling show. Raw, it's not enjoyable. Of course, it's longer. It's 3 hours. But the Uncle Howdy stuff, you're sitting through it looking for things. I want to see Bron Breakker. If Gunther was going to wrestle, I'd want to see that. If Drew McIntyre was going to talk, I'd want to see that. If Punk was there, obviously, I'd want to see that.
Punk will be back sooner or later.
But there's nothing else on the... And I am not looking forward to that. I'm not looking forward to CM Punk being back on this show while they have fucking ghosts and monsters and goblins running around.
Well, I was just liking Gable until he got scared of the dark.
Same thing. And by the way, they were building everything up with Gable and Otis. And I guess technically they still are. But boy, what a missed opportunity. Instead of doing all this shit with Gable, if you had just done an Otis turn, you could have had something.
He shoved him down. And then Gable's been trying to go, the monsters are after me. You want to come back? Oh, no, we're done. At that time, if Otis in front of people had splashed Gable flatter than a fucking pancake, flatter than a plate full of piss, then that would have been a roar. It was just more like a fart, a popcorn fart. And speaking of popcorn farts, let's finish off the other part of this effluvia with the VHS. Did you watch the Uncle Howdy interviewing Bo Dallas Part 2 package?
No, I did not.
Okay. Well, I did. And I can't tell you what the fuck it was about or describe it really in any coherent way. there are the video effects and the glitches, the self-made glitches, and the blurriness, and the repeat phrases, and the cool artistic things they're doing to it. And it's Uncle Howdy interviewing Bo Dallas, and Bo Dallas is a very good performer at being is he confused, or he's sad, or he's mad, or he's morose, or he's being psychoanalyzed here by a guy in a fucking Uncle Howdy mask. And I wrote, I don't know what the fuck this is. Question mark, question mark. I don't know where this is going to go. Or are they explaining anything and I don't understand it because I don't play a popular video game? Is it one of those things? Or is it just that this is cool and it doesn't go anywhere? And it's ridiculous on the face of it that these people are just able to stop and take over an entire arena where an event is going on, and nobody knows how or why or when it's going to happen. Help me make sense of this, Brian, even though you can't because you don't want to watch it because it's fucking stupid.
No, but I can make sense of it in a way that a lot of the defenders of it can't. It goes nowhere. And it's the same as when Bray Wyatt returned last time. And he came out to the middle of the ring and he did a long, dramatic promo. And it was intense and it was great and the fans were into it and they had the lights going and I have no idea what he said. I have no idea what was going on, and it went nowhere from there. And now his brother's doing it. You know, again, if this leads to Bo Dallas being a top talent in the company or something, I mean, time will tell if that's going to work. But it just feels like it's going nowhere. And it's even worse than that, actually. It's infiltrating the other segments of the show. And I can understand why people there are into it. It's like, it's a live action play at that point. It goes from being a sports, it goes from being
a simulated sport, a sports-oriented thing.
It goes from that to being medieval times. You're sitting there while all this stuff is happening right in front of you. But it's terrible. It goes nowhere. None of the people involved in this, I don't think the fans really want to see them go over all the top talent or anything. So where is this going to go? And it better go somewhere soon, I hope. But it never did. The Bray Wyatt stuff never went anywhere, and it was endless. And
well, when Bray came back and did that intense promo that you just referred to, we reviewed that. Is that clip on the YouTube channel?
Of course.
Official Jim Cornette.
I think it was on SmackDown, yeah.
It would be me on Bray Wyatt's return or whatever. I don't remember exactly what I said because this came up just now, but I remember my feeling was at the time, this guy can talk. He's amazing. He has personality. He draws you in. He had the inflection. You want to hear more. You want to listen to this guy. It's amazing. He has a grasp on the audience. And then, like you said, he never explained anything or developed anything or nothing. What you didn't, if he had been of a weird personality, a tormented personality, a dark personality, or whatever, without supernatural. Without him being able to set him on fire and burn him alive, without him being able to withstand being run over with steamrollers, whatever the fuck, right? That guy's a personality I would have loved to have seen. He could work enough to carry that off as a big fucking bruising guy. And he could cut captivating promos, but you had to have somewhere for him to go and interact with other people as a human being. And that he would have been, but it quickly, like you said, went into, what the fuck is all of this? And then the puppets and the fucking cartoons and the clubhouse and the
all that nonsense. And you have a generation of fans who grew up with WWE and Vince McMahon's attitude of wrestling is this canvas for any stupid thing I want to do. To me, wrestling, when done right, means all of these things fit into the kayfabe world of wrestling as it exists. Not, I have a character, I want to bring it onto the wrestling show, but everything else has to be different. We have to introduce monsters and smoke. No, that's not pro wrestling. That's a movie or something, or a TV show. Pro wrestling would be, I have a character. How do I make the character work into the confines of pro wrestling? That's one of the many reasons why I don't like the Young Bucks. People who love their matches don't work unless you break every rule there is for wrestling, for no reason other than they can't wrestle otherwise. They can't have rules. And with this stuff, it's the same thing. If Bo Dallas or Bray Wyatt had characters that were interesting, that could mix in with everyone else without this supernatural nonsense. And again, last time, it beat down the baby faces every single time, with the exception of LA Knight. I hate this stuff on wrestling. For everyone's like, oh, but you like The Undertaker. No.
This is not that.
No. And The Undertaker was established a long time before things got really wacky.
That's before they had a budget. See, so they had to just do real shit. They couldn't afford to make fake fucking lightning. But anyway, so that was 5 minutes there of my life, and I don't know. I don't know what the fuck is happening there. And then they had Rey Mysterio against Dominic Mysterio. But by that point, I wrote, I just want to get this show over with. So you'll never guess, at the finish, Zelina jumped Liv, and Dom got crotched on the top rope when she bumped into it, and Rey splashed him 1, 2, 3. All right, the one segment of the program, you saw the Bron Breakker segment, correct?
I think so. I don't remember. It's been days ago at this point.
Oh, for heaven's sake. Now you're stooging on us that we're late trying to catch people up on this shit. Sami Zayn and Bron Breakker. Sami's promo in the Intercontinental title match against Bron, which I'm looking forward to seeing, actually, because I'll look forward to see Bron Breakker do anything. But Sami also cut a hell of a promo. This was the highlight of the show here, this and this angle about to come up. In it, he comes across like genuine, not like a lot of the other people, male or female, that are, reciting their verbiage or whatever, or just deer caught in headlights. He's talking to people. And he put Bron over, but he promised from a babyface, Brian, I am going to beat Bron Breakker at Money in the Bank. So I'm wondering about this. But anyway, Bron came out.
Because a babyface can't break their promise?
Well, you're not supposed to. But maybe they've relaxed those rules too these days. But Bron came out, and he's a heel, but it's too soon for him to be foiled unless there's a real good reason, I think, that he basically said he was going to break the motherfucker in half and win the belt, but he didn't come out and just flat out swear on the dog-faced gremlin's life or whatever. But Bron sounds natural. He's not reading something. He's not reciting something. And it sounds like him talking. And so they really, because he got right in Sami's face, said, you got no guts and no idea what you're in for. Right? And fucking Sami said, you know how many times I've been broken in half, and I get back up. I want you to try your best. That type of thing, right? But Bron at first was smirking at this little, weasel that's trying to talk big to him. But then when Sami said, maybe you're not as smart as you think you are, or as good, then Bron he did this perfectly with the facial. You see it. It goes from, smirking to, I want to kill you. And he goes to leave and then spun and speared him at 100 miles an hour. And got a big pop. Because it looked great, because he's explosive, right? Just, what was it Gordon Solie used to say? He's not just quick, he's sudden. But then, as he's about to leave again, Bron, he's walking down the aisleway, but then he turns around and he sees Sami's rolled out on the other side. And he gets that smirk again, and he does the deal where he runs around the ring, and they shot this from the air again. It's perfect. He runs around the ring for the spear, and this time Sami leapfrogs him, and he runs into the fucking stairs, bam, and he fucks them up. And then Sami gets on him, and they go in the ring. Sami gives him the suplex, goes for the fucking kick, and runs right into a spear again. So we got a little fucking false finish there on that fucking deal, but still Bron ends up leaving Sami down, tears his shirt off, picks up the fucking Intercontinental belt. This is how you make a goddamn star. Now we're watching it on TV every week. So maybe Tony should be watching another program instead of his own so he could figure out what's going on. But when all we've talked about on this program, Brian, since we've been doing it, is how to get somebody over, get a new exciting talent over, get a guy over as a fucking star, they could just watch this every week. This is what you do. It's not that hard. Well, you got to find a fucking Bron Steiner. Should we start hyphenating him? Bron Breakker Steiner?
Nah, if they're not going to do it, I don't want to waste my time. They should have done it, especially when you see that documentary and they say Bronson Steiner. There's the name.
But it's going to happen sooner or later.
You think it's going to happen at this point with him on the main roster already using the name Bron Breakker? I don't think it is.
Well, I don't know. Well, maybe like Roman Reigns, you know. He was, you know, an Anawahi, but...
It's so stupid, because all you want is some guy who has not watched wrestling in years to turn on the TV and hear the name Steiner and wonder, is that one of their kids? And get interested. Instead, they gave him a brand new name, so if you were a Steiner Brothers fan who doesn't watch wrestling anymore and you bumped into him, you'd have no idea.
Well, but if you're a fan of people named Breaker,
I don't know if
you would instantly be intrigued.
I don't think I've ever met anyone with the last name Breakker.
Well, you ought to meet more people.
Have you met anyone named Breakker?
I don't want to meet people.
Breakker 19?
You proved my point. But anyway,
I just wish he was on SmackDown. I just wish he was on SmackDown. See, that's the problem now. The Uncle Howdy stuff taints this show.
DVR the program, so and just zip through for the Bron Breakker.
So this is when I miss like the old days of tape trading. I would just order a custom tape from someone. Just can you record the best stuff and send it to me?
Hey, I would get the best of AWA TVs from Norman Dooley, and it would literally be 3 matches for like a 5-month period, 3 matches, and all the rest was the interviews. But anyway,
sounds about right. It sounds about right.
Otherwise, the Money in the Bank qualifier was Drew and Ilya and Sheamus. And Drew won. And there was 2 commercial breaks in this, and it didn't take up 15 minutes of airtime in total, so there wasn't much of the match on the TV. That was Raw.
All right.
Now you know why you forgot it.
It's just, it's not good. I can remember everything that happened on SmackDown, at least in terms of the angles and the promos. Not necessarily the matches, because they don't matter. They don't matter.
Again, yes, that's the point. They've got it where there's just the intermezzo in between the
that's right
second and third act.
The premium live event matches matter. They've trained me. I know the matches on the TV show don't matter. The angles matter. And again, I can what?
Well, I was just going to say, do you mean that the more successful promotion is the one that trained the fans what to think and expect rather than the promotion where the fans trained it what to do?
Yeah. I mean, that's the history of wrestling up until now, isn't it? I mean, successful promotions, any promoter, any territory, you train the fans. They knew they had to buy a ticket to see the match. That was the training, right?
Well, and there was all kinds of training. There was also training of what style got over, what the product that you presented looked like. And I'm not talking about lucha or hardcore or whatever. I'm talking about whatever vein or genre of the business that the promoter and or the booker that owned part of the office was best at is the one that would be on top in the main events, and that person would have people working that style against him and interacting with the other top guys. And then the preliminaries were what the preliminaries were. So that's why you got Eddie Graham with the technical wrestling up and down the card, and then the fucking brawlers in the main event because it stood out and was special. And that was his thing. And you got Tennessee, you got the personal issues and the wild stuff, but more believable with the personalities involved. And in Watts, you had the football players and the tough guys with the smash mouth, blah, blah, blah. And Georgia and the mid-Atlantic territory, they were very technical in their pro wrestling style, Steamboat and Flair. And Vern was kind of shoot wrestling in part because of him, and the Crusher, the complete antithesis of that, was the most over guy. So he had heels like Stevens and Bockwinkel that could do whatever the fuck. But that's the way you trained your audience, is what the guy that owned the territory knew best, could book best, could do best, or could present best. So apparently this is what Tony presents best, is what he's doing over there at AEW. But this is what the WWE is. They're getting fucking 1.5 to 2 million people, depending on the week and the occasion, to watch Raw for 3 hours when nothing fucking happens.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, WWE too, you have Triple H at the top, but beyond Triple H, you have other people with wrestling minds there. Whether they have good ideas or bad ideas, there's enough people with ideas, and then there's someone at the top to make the decision. Tony thinks he knows as much as all these other people do. Tony thinks he knows all the ideas, and he understands all the history and all the booking. And then look at that TV show and look at this TV show. Look at the results that each show gets. And Tony has trained his fans that you know that their pay-per-views, if you like those kind of matches, they're going to pay off. And they'll give you the kind of matches you want to see. And he's also trained the fans that the TV show's meaningless. And we're seeing that each and every week play out. But we move on from there.
Well, let me ask you this. This may be a segue from that conversation to the one we're about to have. Is Tony, in his own way, very Russo-rific? Is there always got to be something going on all the time in these backstage confrontations on a 30-second promo? Or every match ends in a beatdown, or sometimes multiple beatdowns, or people are fighting at ringside, or they did a fucking backstage, and we're going to talk about it here in a few minutes on Dynamite. In a 30-second little scuffle, they're throwing fireballs at each other. Is this worse than Russo-rific, where there's just meaningless shit going on all the fucking time?
It's very reminiscent of, you hate to say it, because as soon as you make a comparison to Russo, obviously it takes on the most negative of connotations.
That's the one I mean for it to take. I was trying to be extremely negative.
But I'm saying, even if you don't want to go like balls to the wall Russo, just like before shit...
I'd like to put Russo's balls to the wall.
My point is, before shit went really bad, before like everything went bad, when it was still just getting bad, that version of WCW... That's what reminds me of AEW right now. Late period WCW. When you watch a Tony Storm promo, and then you watch just random people out in a ring doing random things, when almost none of the angles work or get a big reaction, when fans are just silent and sitting there. See, WCW didn't have that. WCW, even as they were declining, still had a hot fan base for the people that actually went. AEW, the people that are still going, sit there and watch it like they're at the zoo. Like they're at the zoo watching a fucking show. Oh, the monkeys are coming out at 1. Let's go watch it.
Well, they're literally getting some shit flung at them.
They are. And, it's two companies going in two different directions. And the problems with AEW, we've said it for a long time. There's all sorts of problems. The big one's at the top. And Tony's not going to be someone who could walk away. or step away or run the operation away from the creative. And he shouldn't be running the operation, quite frankly. Do you think if any seasoned CEO or anyone who had the ability to be a CEO had been CEO of that company for the last 5 years, do you think the infrastructure and the executives that are in place now would be there? Or would they have a better operation? Would they have a better infrastructure? Would they have a better merch operation? Would everything across the board have been done better if it hadn't been Tony and Mega and the same people fucking up shit for the Jacksonville Jaguars? Instead, Tony had said, I want to do it. I want to fund it. Even if he said, I may have some ideas, but he got completely involved with it. The wrestling end's fucked up. And then the business end of AEW, there's nothing to write home about. I said it from the very beginning. It's on tape. AEW is a great chance for wrestling executive development because they're going to need to. They're going to need executives for their team. And all they do is hire people that WWE throws away.
Well, and you mentioned the Jacksonville Jaguars. What about if he had said, all right, he plays around in the pro football world. Who is a former head honcho, I don't know what all the job titles are, of a pro football team that might be out there, or high-ranking executive who could, even if he doesn't know anything about wrestling, put me a company together. They've marketed the fucking Houston Oilers goddamn helmets or whatever. Put me a team together, help me with arena relations and that type of thing. Even if they weren't going to do anything about wrestling, put a team together to run an operation of this size, since money is not an object. And he didn't do that either. But Christopher Daniels is his vice president to speak now, whenever he gets a chance to speak again. He hasn't spoken since he was nominated to speak, but go ahead.
If he's as effective off the air as he is on the air, that says a lot. And we didn't hear good things about him and his job of whatever, talent relations going way back. I mean, even like Jelly Nutella when he left, it was like, yeah, they never said a word, never heard from anyone. That was Christopher Daniels in charge, wasn't it?
Well, but hold on now, because Chris Daniels, at least the one that I knew at one point, was a dedicated young man. However, you don't know. What the fuck did they just give you? Okay, you're talent relations. Well, what could I do? Well, I don't know. Nothing. So if he's not writing the show and he's not signing the checks and he's not making the deals for the contracts because Tony's got his finger in everything, and now he nominates Daniels as his spokesman on TV, and then he never speaks again.
Yeah, and then it's still like Tony Schiavone saying, oh, Tony Khan's just saying this in my ear set. Yeah. Or it's still the Bucks just doing whatever they want. The booking of the show, everything that's done on that show just makes no sense. And
the other night, they established that Daniels was there while the Bucks were still doing whatever the fuck they wanted to do.
No, it's Tony Khan can't book. Tony can't book, period. And we'll finish this talking about executives and hires. You know, the Mets used to be owned by the Wilpon family. Originally, Nelson Doubleday of Doubleday Publishing bought the Mets in 1980 from the previous owners, the Derolay sisters. And he had a minority partner, Fred Wilpon, who was a real estate guy in New York. He became the president of baseball operations. Years later, he became a 50% partner right after the 86 World Series of the Mets. Years later, he wanted to put his son in charge. Nelson Doubleday thought his son was a moron. They ended up having a big fight and a big split, and Wilpon took control of the team, bought Doubleday out for...
Wait a minute, you're talking about Jerry Jarrett and Nick Goulas, is what you're talking about?
I'll be talking about Jerry Jarrett and Nick Goulas if Jerry had the fucking putt son at that time, not Nick. Because now Fred Wilpon put his son in charge, and he gained a reputation throughout baseball. And I got friends who work in baseball, reporters for baseball. He had a reputation. He's the owner's son who wants to meddle in everything. He thinks he knows more about baseball than everyone. He knows more about how to manage the team than everyone. He knows more how to manage the press than everyone. We had more press leaks than any other team in baseball. Despite the fact that we were the New York Mets, it was a tough sell to get serious baseball people here because of the Wilpon family and Jeff Wilpon. And we now don't have that. We now have an owner who's the richest man in baseball. We've been able to see kind of the difference between the two things. Tony Khan is Jeff Wilpon. No matter how well he means, and no matter how much he loves this thing, he doesn't get it, and he's not good at it. And there's still
this
people
thing of
pretending.
ours.
There's still people pretending that Tony can get it. Tony has gotten it. He has to get it back. Tony doesn't know how to book at all. He's not good at it. And more people need to say it.
You mentioned the Wilpon name, and of course I know these baseball people like I know, NASA space technology, but you may remember this, I'm sure you do. There was a Wilpon that was allegedly, 10 years ago or whatever it was, going to start a wrestling promotion. And several of the boys, I don't want to accuse anyone unnecessarily, but I believe Shane Douglas was one of the people that just glowingly pitched this to me. Was going to start a wrestling company and all the guys were going to get insurance and benefits, and they were going to be treated great, employees, whatever the fuck. And the Wilpon name was used because at that point is that when they owned the team? Around about 10 years ago in that era of time?
They did own it back then, but this is a little bit before then because I remember hearing about this too, and this was right around the time that the Wilpons got tied up with Bernie Madoff. Well, they were always tied up with him, but that's right around the time Bernie Madoff, the Ponzi scheme collapsed.
When he made off with the money?
Yeah.
Well, but that, again... And that, of course, was ridiculous on the surface of it, and I didn't believe it for a second. But so many of the guys were like, "Oh, smoking the hopium." But was that even did they find out that was really a member of the Wilpon family directly, or was he like cousin Wilpon? He has some relation to the family.
He was a cousin in Florida, I believe.
The Wilpon cousin in Florida. So then it got removed from credulity even one step further. When it wasn't the actual New York Wilpon, it was the Florida Wilpon cousin. And guess who never started a wrestling promotion?
Well, we'll get to AEW Dynamite shortly, Jim. But before we get there, we've cut through a lot of crap today, and I can cut through more because Box of Awesome, my latest Box of Awesome arrived the other day, and I got wonderful Thai knives to in the kitchen do some stuff, or you never know. You never know when these things come in handy.
You son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. You have ruined my surprise to you because normally, and say I had to go down and get my Box of Awesome stuff from this month because Stace had already confiscated it or requisitioned it or whatever for the kitchen, because normally you're getting these knives and these swords and these medieval devices used for restraint in dungeons and whatever I don't know how you filled your questionnaire out or whether you went on some type of registry but you're getting some deadly shit over there. Whereas we're getting the cocktail and wine connoisseur kits and the cooking implements and spice rubs and various culinary. It's all about the culinary delights over here at the castle. But this past month, for my Box of Awesome, I got the Thai knife sharpening set and hold on, I got to bend over. It's almost a box of lead instead of a Box of Awesome. I'm bending over to pick up these heavy quality items, but the Thai knife sharpening set, which includes a sharpening whetstone.
What?
A whetstone and honing oil. Which, now you've heard of the term whet your appetite for something, right?
That's right.
Well, that's because a whetstone is what you use when you're sharpening the knives. You whet your appetite, you sharpen your appetite based on like honing oil. When you hone your skills, you're sharpening your skills. See, this not only sharpens your knives, but it helps you with your grammar. And this is even bigger. Did you get the Thai moon knife set?
I did.
These are amazing. For once, I got the same thing you got. Authentic carbon steel made in Thailand, hence the name Thai. And these things are giant chopping knives. Well, one is like a cleaver, but it's got, Jesus Christ, you could cleave some shit with that. And listen to that now. When they go in the custom wooden case for these items, and this is like a chopping knife, but that's sharper than a mother-in-law's tongue, I'll tell you what. Have you hurt anyone with yours so far?
No, I'm very safe and very prepared, and I'm always prepared, and I'll be safe, so you better watch out.
And prepare. But I mean, just the handmade custom wood box that they come in has the care instructions and everything imprinted on the wooden box lid on top, and you just put them right back in that thing. And you hand wash and dry these to avoid rust formulation. Occasionally wipe with olive oil to preserve the finish. And you got the knife. Well, you got the knife sharpening set there with it, which this is authentic, purposeful, and artisan. Or as I called Domino's years ago when you still could just call and they just deliver it with some fucking punk college kid in a car instead of all this internet bullshit they go through now. And they had the recording on that the local Domino's in fucking Ypsilanti, Michigan or whatever had put on the recording. And the girl said, and we have the new artisan pizzas ready for you now. So this is an artisan box with artisan instructions on the whetstone and the honing oil to sharpen the blades. So you can tell you if your mother-in-law has a sharp tongue, you can fix her up real good with these various implements and then clean everything off. And after you use this honing oil, I believe it removes any DNA evidence or blood spatters of various kinds.
I don't think it does, and I don't think that should be a concern or anything we even talk about.
I think you can pass the CSI standards if you use both the
I could, but
whetstone and the honing oil.
Again, there are no standards for crime scene intelligence.
Yes, removing the evidence of a crime from these knives is as easy as 1, 2, 3, ladies and gentlemen.
There will be no crime. Again, I don't know why we're saying this. There will be no crime unless you say cutting up some fine meat in the kitchen is a crime.
You've got to be, or in the bathtub. You've got to be prepared.
The bathtub.
Fine, in case these knives are going to last forever. They're quality workmanship and materials. If a crime did occur in and around these knives, that still wouldn't be the end of the knives. You could clean them off and start fresh with new owners, and they'll still be useful and serve their purpose. So these knives will outlive you, ladies and gentlemen. And basically, that's an example of the kind of quality products that you're going to get when you sign up at boxofawesome.com. And all you got to do is fill out the little quiz and tell them what you're interested in. If you're saying something like if you've seen Pulp Fiction, you want a cleaner, I guess you could put that down. It depends on, they have a category on how you'd like to get rid of the evidence. But all the interests that you have, you can jot them down, and they will send you things related to those self-same interests every month at stellar discounts, plethora of products. You're getting 30% or more off sometimes. And it's mom and pop stores that are just out there trying to fight the man, trying to break through, climb the ladder, gain the mainstream acceptance, live a life of luxury and then debauchery ending in horrible divorce with mom getting most of the money and dad becoming an alcoholic. And Box of Awesome helps all that happen, folks, when you sign up there. And right now, you can get 15% off your first box. When back when I was a teenager, 15% off my first box would have been a big deal.
That would have been $8.
Oh, for heaven's sake. No, box was more expensive even when I was a teenager than that. Boxofawesome.com, you enter the code JCE at checkout, and well, you're going to get 15% off your first box. And that's, again, boxofawesome.com, promo code JCE at checkout. And, you're going to be able to just slice the shit out of stuff, or whatever type of meat you're wanting to cut.
In the kitchen. Box of Awesome. What's that promo
Yes.
code one more time, Jim?
Sometimes people do it out in the backyard.
In the kitchen. What's that promo code?
Especially around the 4th of July. They do it out in the backyard, Brian. You got the grill out there. It's handy. It's a good way to
prepare your meat indoors, folks. It's always smart to do that without bugs.
It takes all kinds of critters to make Farmer Vincent's fritters. Boxofawesome.com. Enter the promo code JCE.